Welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Here you'll go from making ends meet behind a keyboard to living in true freedom by using real estate well. Never having to work a full-time job, report to a manager, or give your adult life to a corporation that probably doesn't care about you. We will give you everything you need for your journey: techniques, principles, real-world experience, and application, filtered through 5 key power principles from my book, People Power, Other People's Money, How to Win, Enjoy, and Reserve. Get ready to take notes. Let's jump into From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Welcome back to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Have another awesome guest here today, Craig Arnett. And let's jump into his bio. He's got over 20 years of technology experience, has a current portfolio of 28 units, and is adding over 100 units by new construction by the end of this year. This guy's busy. Outside of that, he's been involved in numerous single-family fix and flips. But what triggered his involvement in real estate? Well, in September 2019, his brother passed. And by February 2020, he faced cancer, a business failure, and decided he needs a new foundation. Life in God, living a life of focused excellence, especially for his family, and actively being a part of the church. Craig, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Ivan. Appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, man. Wow, that's quite a little journey. I'm sure we haven't even delved into the details on that. Did you want to expand a little bit on some of those points?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, life is a journey, and I'll tell you, it has been a real journey just in the last few years. Really, the death of my brother in 2019 was a life-changing moment. It's a moment where I've experienced death before, but when that came about, it hit me like anything I've never experienced before, and knowing that there were 4 children left behind, and I've got 3 children as well, and feeling that responsibility to make sure that I could create a legacy for my family and for my brother as well. In fact, while I was there at his funeral, I made a promise to him that I would be there for those children physically, mentally, and spiritually as they grew.
Mhm.
And, it's something that it's my life's mission to accomplish. And there's nothing more that seats your foundation than facing some of the fires of life, and cancer, going coming back from my brother's funeral and having some things done, checking to make sure that what happened with him wasn't going on with me, and finding an anomaly, and going through that journey, ending up at the Cancer Treatment Center of America and walking around looking at people saying, what am I doing here? I'm healthy. Those poor people are sick. I'm healthy. What am I doing here? And not realizing that I could be facing my mortality at that very moment, and having to walk through that, and finding a stronger foundation in that, in my faith, and my mission getting stronger with my family. It was a very long and strong, a journey that didn't destroy me. It actually made me stronger. It gave me a deeper faith and a much firmer foundation for life go forward. And I definitely drive for excellence.
Amen to that, brother. I'm glad you made it through and pushed stronger because, as you know, some people, they get stuck on the wayside as opposed to, I'm going to come out this stronger than before. So I celebrate you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So to draw through some of your experience, we're going to go through the POWER acronym for this time together. So people power, other people's money, winning, enjoying, and reserve. So, I mean, I got to ask, what sort of people inspired you to get through these hard moments in life?
You know, there are several people that come to mind. It's always good to, one, my wife. She is my rock and my foundation. And when you're married, it's important to have a good, strong relationship with somebody. And when one's down, the other one needs to pick the other one up, and vice versa.
Mhm.
We're going to be celebrating 30 years of marriage, and I like to call that the new normal.
Awesome.
A good, strong marriage, and a foundation to raise a well-adjusted family and build those legacies. That's what I'm all about. But on top of that, I have a very godly mother that is constantly praying for me. I've got a great family that loves me and came behind me in those moments as well. My children are amazing. They're amazing people. I'm truly blessed, with everything that we did to raise them. And there's a business partner that has been a real driving force for me as well, and his name's Tyler Devereaux.
Okay. Awesome. How did you meet Tyler?
That was the beginning journey of my life in multifamily real estate. Funny enough, he actually was my very first trainer, and in my beginning of my journey of multifamily. And he'll never forget me because there was an exercise that they give every single student that goes through that program, and it was to go outside and raise capital. And, I'm a very out of the box thinker. And I thought, well, I'm going to pitch this guy, but I'm going to do it in a way that he'll never forget. So I went out and I skip traced him, got his cell phone number, and gave him a call. I didn't even go up and introduce myself. I gave him a call and I pitched him over the phone, and got a commitment from him on a future project. And again, he had never had anybody do that to him before. And to this day, when he's training, he brings it up. It was that impactful.
Nice. You got some cojones of steel, man. It's hard enough doing cold calling in general, but you're adding, hey, give me capital for a future project.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. I'm not afraid to pick the phone up and speak to somebody. Part of my journey in technology, I mentioned I've got over 20 years of technology experience. Part of that was working remotely for 12 years, and I had to learn the skill of picking the phone up, being able to reach out and touch somebody and have a meaningful conversation and arrive at an outcome, that I was hoping to arrive at. And it's something I became very good at.
Yeah. For somebody that maybe is more of an introvert or isn't used to that, doesn't have the experience or the boldness of cold calling, what sort of things did you train your brain to get used to that habit?
There's always that thing of fear. We all have this fear, and in our minds we come up with all the things that could go wrong and all the different things that might happen. And first thing is to tell your mind, train your mind that, well, what are all the things that can go right? And understand that no is not no. It's just one step further where you're getting closer to yes.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of phone calls where people will hang up on you, and sometimes they'll be rude to you. And that can mean several things. One, that may mean you need to refine your pitch. It may mean you just reach them at a bad moment. But ultimately, once you kind of get your persona and your pitch and everything together, you'll be surprised how easy it comes.
That's true. Yeah, fear could catch or hold a lot of people up. When you mentioned the no, transferring it to it, or it'll over time be a yes, it made me think of an Andy Mineo lyric that I had to verify and look up real quick. When they tell me no, I hear maybe yes.
Yeah, Andy's got some good stuff. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And one thing I didn't even mention, Ivan, I am bilingual as well. It's funny. My wife is actually from Mexico, and I spent, I'm from a family where nobody spoke a second language, and I made it a mission to go out and learn Spanish and actually speak, read, and write fluently. And that's actually been very helpful in our business, with the construction. In the technology world, I always thought, I'd be able to use it. And it was something that never came to fruition. But as I've gotten more into this world, I found I found a use for that skill, and it's actually made it much easier for me to do things as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because there are so many technical pieces in real estate. And luckily, they're there's not that many variables. There's a lot of fixed values that you
Right.
can build algorithms around. By the way, did you want to speak to how you have made a product in the marketplace around that?
Yeah, so when I got started in this journey of multifamily and started looking at how people evaluate deals, being a technologist, I just looked at that and I wanted to throw up. I was like, this just does not work for me. It's not scalable. There's a lot of problems. For those of you that don't know, the traditional way that has been out there for people to analyze properties is using a spreadsheet. And here are the limitations of using that approach. One, I mentioned it's not scalable. Two, the moment you share it with somebody, you've lost chain of custody of that data. So anybody that touches that could potentially damage your numbers in such a way that you won't detect, and it may take you hours to go back and fix. So we've created a product called MultyDeals, and that's the logo right there. And it is a cloud-based underwriting solution, and it is amazing. It's a game changer. We built a quick analyzer, which allows you to go through and analyze a deal in less than 10 minutes. Now, it's considerably less than 10 minutes. It can be a matter of a minute or 2 minutes. I just like to give real numbers. I hear a lot of people out there talking about analyzing deals in 30 seconds, 60 seconds. For those that know what they're doing or know the business, that's just not possible. There's too many variables
Yeah.
to get it done in 30 or 60 seconds. So 10 minutes is more of a realistic, like if you're going to look at something quickly. Now, once you've gone through that checkpoint, we have a full deal analyzer, and it is amazing. It's got an AI rent roll parser. We're in the finishing stages of our AI T12 parser, and it does a lot of insights, gives you a lot of reporting capabilities. It is multi-user, so you can build a team and use it in that fashion. And it's built in such a way for those of you that do multifamily education to be able to use it as a platform and deal coach as well. It's truly an amazing tool.
That's awesome. I took a glance at the website, and you also have a LOI bullet on there.
We do. So the idea being that when I get done with this product, it won't be just a deal analyzer. It will be kind of like how would I put this? Maybe like the Microsoft Office, and that's maybe not a good analogy, but just because of the way that they packaged all the different pieces of being able to do a workflow,
Mm-hmm.
when we get done with multi-deals, it will be an A to Z solution. And what that means is it won't be just the deal analyzer. It will have the asset management piece. It will have the due diligence piece. It will have the capital raising piece. There'll
Wow.
be separate modules, but they'll be 100% integrated. So you'll have a frictionless workflow as you go through and you do a deal. And, for those of you out there that are trying to do multifamily deal analysis and deal flow, that's one of the biggest problems. You have a software here that does this, you have a software here that does that, one here, one there, one here, one there, and none of them talk to each other.
Yeah,
And that's the problem that we're solving with multi-deals.
that's amazing. The practical first priority that I'm thinking about is when I underwrite a deal, inevitably there's gonna be something I miss. Like, oh, I didn't calculate how much the insurance is gonna be, or the floodplain. What's the flood insurance if they're a certain part of the property? Like, there's so many things that go into it, and it looks like your system just kind of, this is all here, all in one place.
Yeah, we made sure with the click of a button, you can check and see if your property's in a floodplain. Our rent roll parser is really next level. It tells you what happened before the rent roll. It tells you what happened. So it's before and after on the rent roll. It tells you where there's risks. It actually gleans all of the in-place other income and rubs and things of that sort if it's in the rent roll as well. It is truly amazing. And, at the end point, you have the LOI, and we're taking a real big data approach as well. So we've got some really amazing AI things we're going to be doing this year. We're going to be doing a lot of data aggregation and giving even better insights into deals. I did a training literally a couple of weeks ago, and that's one of the benefits that our users get is I do a weekly training on our system. And one of the last trainings I did, I actually went through one of our KPIs, the cash on cash, and showed them how our system is going to tell them how to get to a specific metric of cash on cash. It's going to give them insight on what's missing in that deal to help them get there. So we're going to have a lot of deal intelligence improvements this year with AI. It's going to be amazing.
Awesome, brother. Wow. So did that come out just from educating yourself and just saying there's an opportunity here?
Yeah, so whenever I look at numbers and I look at deals, I'm always thinking, because I'm an investor as well. I go and I walk properties. I do a lot of things. And so I find spots where I'm like, you know what? This took me too long to do. I need to cut this back. I'm always looking for ways to save time and to make the investor's life better. So yes, it came through self-study, working with other operators as well, people that use our product, listening to them. When we get suggestions, we take them very seriously. But I'm always looking for ways, again, to save time and to make a system even more intelligent, driving the possibility. The reason we call the product multi-deals, the reason we call it that is the idea is we want to multiply the number of deals you can get through, thereby increasing exponentially your chances for success in this business.
Awesome. And I want to bring this back to a beginner that may not necessarily be ready to do a big multifamily. So I wanted to ask you to elaborate on what should the path be, or what could the path look like for a beginner building up to like acquiring your system or needing it.
Well, there's a lot of paths you can take out there to get into multifamily. And the number one path to get your first deal is to learn to underwrite and bring a deal to somebody. And so for those of listeners out there that are new or looking to get into this, our system is perfect for helping you to break in, because two things. One, we give you a really solid tool to do the underwriting in. It's very user friendly. It's cloud-based, so you can access it from your browser anywhere. But on top of that, you get a weekly training with me and other industry experts where I give you insights that you would spend thousands of dollars to do just by paying to have access to our software.
Oh, awesome. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, because if you're kind of trying to break into the multifamily space, they definitely the sweat equity piece, right? The doing work for free upfront is going to help you get involved and get experience.
There is a lot of that. And so, it's very important for you to be able to know the numbers as well. I can't tell you how many people I've heard go out and raising capital and not knowing their numbers and not knowing the project, and being able to speak to something with knowledge is extremely powerful. So like, if I was to talk to you about, something I was working on, I'd be able to talk to you about the number of units, the potential rent, the area where it's located. I could talk to you about several different aspects of the deal. And again, that's part of what our system brings, is it gives you all those things at your fingertips.
Yeah. And if you don't have a live example to work with a partner on, perhaps somebody that has the capital already, a way to get experience too would be just going on loopnet.com, finding a random deal, plugging it into the system, and seeing if it's a BS deal or something solid.
That's a great way. They call LoopNet, and this is said in several training companies. This is not me saying it. They call LoopNet the trash can of deals out there.
Yeah.
But yes, it is a very good place to go out there and pull in, some financials and do some practice runs, maybe even pick a market where you're not active, so you're not afraid to mess up and go out and look at things. And that way you can find deals. Now we're going to be doing some other things with our platform and and building a community for collaboration where other users can collaborate with other users on their deals, and that's going to be very powerful. It's some new things we're doing this year as well.
Yes, indeed. That's awesome. So is there anything else in people power I could think of? Did Tyler help you break into it, or did you have other people that helped you break into real estate?
So education path-wise, I started with something called Fortune Builders. They did not have the multifamily at the time that I went that path.
Okay.
There was a guy named Todd Dotson. He's a faith-based operator, great guy. He had the wholesaling piece. That was probably one of the best pieces of education that I got in my real estate tool belt. I was able to do more with that than other programs. Had some really good nuggets. But yeah, I would say Tyler Devereaux. There was a program that I joined. I'm not going to plug it because I didn't get a whole lot of success with it. It was more the individuals in the platform. Truly, Tyler Devereaux has been my inspiration for my path, my journey. The one I will plug his education group. It is the multifamily mindset, and what he does with his group is not just teach them about real estate. It's about mindset as well, because a lot of us are broken and our beliefs keep us from being able to move forward and being able to do things. And he helps people break some of those chains, in their minds. And I know that, he has a real heavy influence. He does a lot with Tony Robbins as well.
Mm. Well, what's coming to mind for me is for somebody that wondering where to start. It's actually when I train and educate, I also try to help encourage people, or maybe a business like wants me to consult, like their hedge fund or something. I try to focus on what's the end result, and then creating tasks, backtracking from what that end result is. So when it comes to your path, you got so many deals you're working on right now. What is your end result, and what does, kind of looking back from it, what sort of actions have you taken to get there?
Massive action. One of the things that has been extremely important, being a technologist, for me, it's all about systems. Coming up with repeatable actions and things that I can do to arrive at a expected result. So putting those systems in place to try and make that process efficient and get from A to Z in a timely manner. But I can tell you, man, there's nothing more important than knowing where you start and where you want to get to, and having a plan to get from A to Z.
Yeah. Even if it's one call per day, that's one thing closer to your end result. Indeed, I love it. Okay, well, let's go into the next section, other people's money or resources. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is, what's your process for raising capital?
We are, I guess I'll drop a Grant Cardone thing. We're trying to drop as many bricks in the Grand Canyon as possible. With a social media approach. So
Okay.
right now, there's a thing about, one, just getting out there and getting people to know about you and building a following, but finding that specific group of people that you want to speak to and honing in on that. And it took us a little while to kind of figure that out. And the ideal people that we're looking to work with are probably in the medical field, C-level executives, and technology as well, because I can heavily relate to what they're going through from a journey perspective. I mentioned I've got several years of technology experience. 12 years of that was in a company doing medical software, and going through several cycles in that business where it went through mergers and acquisitions, and seeing all the different plays that go in the business as well, helped me understand the plight of a technologist at every level and what they face, the fear of their job being outsourced, the merger and acquisition comings, and you got two companies coming together. Number one, who's king, who's leaving, who's staying, being when you go through a paring down and layoffs. Well, now your job becomes three people's work for the same pay. So, all those different aspects I can talk about with technologists. And if they're right now, we've got an offering, we've got a fund that's over $10 million that we're raising funds for. And it's a 506c for accredited investors only. But those are the kind of people that we're looking to bring in and be a part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you could empathize with them, like you said,
Correct.
understand what they've been through. Yeah, that's similar to why this podcast was even started, as to engage more people in real estate investing, because it's all possible if you focus and get the right education. And they could follow our paths, what you and I did. I gotta have a separate question here. Are you related to Will Arnett? I know you're enjoying that content, but I just wanted to personally invite you to the Commonwealth Affordable Housing Fund. If you want to passively earn while also building communities, doing philanthropy even, while getting quarterly distributions and even sharing in the exit about 5 years down the line, then please join us. This used to just be for friends and family, but you could join in now. You could be essentially earning through an expert, which is I, running the investment firm Commonwealth. So if you want to be a part of it, and also get access to exclusive events where we go to in-progress construction and I show you how your money is being used actively, and how the renovation was just complete, and how this is going to help change people's lives, how we negotiated an acquisition. So you could be a part of those events throughout the year and also earn passively. So if you want to be a part of that, please click the link below, and I'll let you back to your awesome content. Thanks.
It's funny. As I was growing up, the name Arnett was not very popular. You didn't see it very often, but now as I get older, I see it popping up more and more. Unfortunately, I can't say that I am related to Will Arnett directly, but if I went through our
This
family,
podcast is over.
if I went through our family tree, maybe. But he hasn't shown up at any of our family events.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Keep messing up.
it's funny because even my first name Craig, it's a name that's very uncommon. And recently, in the Phoenix metro area, there is actually another Craig Arnett. What are the odds of that?
Oh, wow. There can only be one. He must be murdered. So, okay, so other people's money. What about other people's resources? Like when it comes to referrals, like you mentioned, you joined that education group, but you actually got more value out of the people. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, and you brought up a great question. So, what is the main reason anybody would join a mentorship or a coaching platform? What's one of the best reasons to join one of those?
Yeah, to educate, but there could also be networking opportunities.
Education is usually your first thought,
Yeah,
but you're buying access to a network of like-minded people.
yeah.
And there is definitely something to be said about leveraging other people's knowledge and experience. I've got some great resources that I speak to, in the process of building our product. There's a guy with Walker Dunlop. His name's Colton Smith. He's been a great resource for me because I didn't know everything I needed to know about debt modeling and, the debt piece of a multifamily property. And he was able to give me insight and direction to build that right the first time. Insurance, there's a great guy, Cameron Stewart, that I'm working with as well. And, again, he knows more about insurance than I'm ever going to know. Why should I learn it all? I'm going to go and I'm going to use his knowledge, and create win-win situations for people like that, where they win and I win. And really, in business, that's what it's all about, creating win-win situations where you bring two people together, you collaborate, and you work together, but there's a win-win situation out of it. It's not just me, me, me.
Indeed. Do you have a way of systematizing how you can help somebody you meet?
Not everybody you meet, you're going to be able to help. but you might be able to connect them to somebody that can.
Hmm.
And I think that's really where the power is realizing where you can add value, and if you can't, bringing somebody that can.
Hmm. Yeah. And this is something I need to be better about, is getting a CRM that organizes all my contacts better. Do you have a CRM system you use?
So yes, I currently use HubSpot for some of my things that I'm doing, but within MultyDeals, we're actually building CRM capabilities as well,
Okay.
because it's a need. Right now, we just have contacts that can be brought in, and those contacts can be added to the deal, and then your conversations with those contacts can be documented in the deal, which makes it very powerful. But for other things that I'm doing right now, I'm using HubSpot. One of my favorite things that HubSpot does is when I send an email, if it gets opened, I know it got opened. That's some real power there, because you're not being ignored.
Yes, indeed. All right. So we can move on to winning. So I draw a different perspective of winning, which is learning from loss, learning from failure, and what to do better when the situation comes back around again. Like real estate, life is very cyclical. We go through mountains and valleys. That's just a part of life. So when you think about winning, what comes to mind?
And that's a tough one, because in life we have so many opportunities to learn, and learning, like you said, comes from failure. And I've had some massive failures that I've gone through, and it's a shame. And in the way that we're taught to not fail. And you can learn a lot from failure, but in my mind, winning, it's multi-layered. It's a life with no reproach. So when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. um, Not having to look over my shoulder, when I'm doing a deal, having the right people in those deals, so that I'm building value for them and for myself as well. But ultimately, what the biggest thing for me in winning is? Blessing other people.
Mm,
So one of the missions that we have for our not only our investments, but our multi-deals company, is we have a plan to support more orphanages throughout the world. And as we scale up and we start putting all that black ink on the books, a significant portion of that will go to blessing children out there in the world that don't have moms, that don't have dads, and giving them a safe place where they have food and can get education. And again, just being a blessing in this place, making the world a better place.
mm. I love it, man. When you mentioned mom and dad and not having those, it made me think of it's really easy in this world of kind of it's about me and my life to forget that missing one of those parents, especially the father, could cause a whole path of destruction, not just for the household, but the whole society. And it's just amazing how that simple, let me move that over here outside of the picture, just causes all that.
Yes, the role of a strong mother and a strong father in that family foundation is the secret sauce to creating amazing people. It doesn't necessarily mean that that family's rich or that family's poor. Excuse me. But a mother and a father that give that guidance and that direction and are there in those moments that you're going through in life. And again, I'm very blessed. I have a mother and a father, and they've been married ever since I was little. Uh, I have a great story when it comes to that. I can't say that I came from a broken family. My parents are together. They love each other. We went through some struggles, in my childhood as well, financial struggles. We're still together. We're still a strong family unit. So
Hmm.
yes, yeah, it's extremely important in building life and character and success.
Yeah. And then earlier in your point, I wanted to touch on something is that we don't really speak or, I guess, delve into failure in the society. And I think a big part of it is that there's a lot of shame attached to it,
There
as
is.
opposed to like the Rocky approach. Like I'm excited to get back up the 15th time.
And I should have worn my Rocky shirt today. I actually
Yeah.
have a pretty cool T-shirt. It's a Rocky T-shirt. It says Rocky on the back of it.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, no, very much so. The education system, the way that we're taught is we need to be right all the time, and we can't make mistakes. And in more cases than not, that is setting up somebody for failure. It is okay to make a mistake as long as you learn from it.
Yeah.
If you're making the same mistake over and over and over again and you're not learning from it, that's where the problem comes.
Yeah, indeed. How would you advise somebody break out of a cycle of shame about like failing at something?
Mm, you know, I had to do it. It's difficult to stand up in front of somebody and say, I failed.
Mm.
And I think that it's part of learning to live a life where you're accountable and understanding that, like you said, mistakes are okay, but we're accountable for what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taking accountability and saying, you know what, I failed. But you know what, when I failed, I learned this, and that. And next time, should I hit this type of a problem again, here are the ways that I'm going to channel through it and come through successfully.
Yeah.
But really, it's learning to be accountable and in your life and not playing the victim.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems we have in society today. It's everyone else's fault when something goes wrong. And, it's important for us to say, you know what? I'm here in this place in life because of some decisions I made. And I have two decisions. I can cry about it, or I can create an action plan and move myself in the right direction.
Yeah. And it brings me to another more personal aspect of like the vulnerable piece too is something not celebrated, but it's so relieving. It, like especially with my wife the other day, I brought up something that probably one of my bros would be like, "Man, you a pansy." But my wife was like, "I understand. I empathize with what I it's, and I'm glad basically that you opened up to me about that." And what I thought was gonna be embarrassing, and she might even, make me feel bad about it, which she never does. It's just in my head, like what I'm cycling in my brain about what's gonna happen if I say this thing. But it ended up bringing us closer together. Yeah.
Yeah,
And if she would have made me feel bad about it, like in previous relationships, that wouldn't have been my wife, right? Like this is a
right,
healthy approach.
right. That vulnerability and being able to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
as well. It puts you in a position where, yeah, somebody can scar you or they can take you and raise you up.
Yeah.
And, in those moments, especially, I mentioned that, I'm very faith-based and I'm a part of a men's group in church and I lead a table of men at our church. And I encourage at that table to be vulnerable and open and let them know, look, this is a place where we come and we talk about things that we need to deal with. And, there's going to be no judgment here. And, but having that courage to be vulnerable and to bring something out is very freeing.
Mhm.
It takes that weight that you're carrying on your shoulders. And us guys, we carry a lot of weights on our shoulders.
Yeah.
And, being able to offload those and be stronger and, and just being vulnerable doesn't mean that you're not masculine and you're not a man. There are times where you need to be able to talk things out. And so, I applaud you for doing that.
Thanks, brother. Um, yeah, and it's so key also because it ties into real estate investing. Because if you're caught up in a problem with a property, you can't be accountable. You can't say, "Hey, this surprise hit us," to your investors. You can't, elaborate that we didn't anticipate these cast iron pipes affecting cash flows for 3 months. if you can't do that and you can't say, well, this is what, then you can't move on to the next step of this is what I'm doing about it. This is how we're going to rebuild.
I love how you brought back that back full circle. So I recently was shooting some content for our brand. It's called The Spot. It's any projects that we build will have that brand on it, and that'll be here in the Phoenix metro area. In that content, I basically told our future investors and our current investors, when you invest with us, number one, we put you first, but we're also accountable. And, we're going to be very communicative. So communicative, meaning that when something goes wrong, we're going to make sure that you guys are aware of it. But you're also going to know we have a plan, or we're working with somebody to find a remedy to that problem. So yes, again, don't play the victim, be accountable for your actions, and make sure that in any situation, if you don't have the answer, go find somebody that might, mentors, colleagues, whatever, and always search for an answer to a problem. Never just lay down and die.
Awesome, bro. Good stuff here, man. I did want to touch on something like uh, I was a part of a mastermind that we met a whole lot more regularly. And what I noticed was there was a consistent uh cycle where they weren't making progress. They were just kind of working on things that they thought were important, this particular person, and there was no traction. And so I noticed like the people that actually invest into getting people to coach them into the right actions, as opposed to I'm gonna try this and that. It's just kind of a willy-nilly, let's hope something works approach, versus I'm just gonna pay somebody and they will give me the answers, because they have only a certain amount of time, so they should be paid. But there's also a weird thought process around why should I have to pay somebody for they should just give it to me for free all the time. So, did you have any thoughts on that?
Man, that we could probably spend an hour just talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people that want everything for free, those are the people that probably won't succeed, because nothing in life is free. There's always a cost, whether it comes down to your physical time, the cash in your wallet, whatever. Nothing in life is free. There's something to be said about if you're going to make traction, you can't sit around and do this. At some point, you have to get out, you have to pull the trigger and take action.
Yeah.
And you have to move in a direction. And you know what? That direction may be wrong. And you might make some mistakes, but you're going to learn from them.
Yeah.
And then you should be able to course correct and get on the right path. So taking action, but above and beyond that, priorities, determining what those priorities are so you can decide where you want to take action and how you want to take action.
Yeah, for sure. And learning from stuff you could just cut something off in 30 days. It doesn't have to be 6 months if something's not working. Just cut it
Right.
off quick.
Yeah, the rule of diminishing return, right?
Mhm.
If you're doing something for a while and it's not working, then you either need to change the formula or come up with a new approach, or maybe go a completely different direction.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Well, bro, we've moved on to enjoy. So how do you enjoy what you've built?
Family. I love spending time with my family, with my wife. And, one of the things that is very rewarding for me and it brings me to a real peaceful foundation. It's just being able to be somewhere on the beach, feet in the sand, feet in the water, hear those waves crashing in, and just, seeing how beautiful the creation is around me.
Mhm.
We were very blessed to have taken delivery of a condo in Puerto Penasco, Mexico, and brought that online as one of the things that we've got in our tool belt of things to use for our investors club. But we also get to go down and enjoy it as well.
Awesome.
But truly spending time with family, enjoying those moments, those experiences. And, when I get an opportunity, I love to go to the beach and just stick my feet in the sand and give thanks for all the things I have in my life.
Awesome, bro. So the last piece is the reserve. So I'm sure your biggest reserve is especially your spiritual relationship to God, but there's other aspects of reserve, the financial, of course. There's a physical, emotional. Uh, could you speak to a particular latest reserve you're working on?
I don't think I'll ever be done, with the financial. Um, the in life, you have to have a strong financial footing to be able to do the things that you want to be able to do, to build the legacies, to be able to bless people. And I hope I'm answering this correctly. There's a lot of people out there that villainize people that have wealth, and look at them as evil, and if I have wealth, if I don't have wealth, if I don't have abundance, I can't bless those people around me.
Yeah.
And so, ultimately, that's one of the areas I'm very, very heavily focused on, to make sure that I can build what I want and I need to build for my family, but I can do those things in the world that I want to do. I want to be able to make a difference. I want to leave a legacy. So that was probably the biggest one I'm working on right now, and I'll be working on continuously.
Yeah.
But, on top of that, always looking to be better in everything. Committed to a life of excellence.
That's awesome. I dig it, and naturally ties that into God, right? Like he helps you focus on that excellence.
He does. He
Yeah.
does. And there's nothing more important. Prior to my brother's passing, I'll be honest, I wasn't that deep. And, I grew up in a Christian home. I went to a private school, and, I was more worried about just money and success. And all of that changed when I lost my brother. He was a big influence in my life, a very strong Christian man, and a great example to live. And it's a shame that he was taken away so early, because there were so many things that he could do and could have done in this world. But ultimately, because of him, I have completely changed, and every morning I'm in the Word, I'm reading and praying, and we pray in public over our food, and just to live a very purposeful life, in that spiritual part of our life. It's something we don't hide. We're out there in front of everybody, and it's not something that I flaunt in somebody's face either. If somebody doesn't believe in God, I'm not going to flaunt it in their face. Well, I'm a Christian and you're wrong. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
We love people and show that love and live a life with a mission to be Christ-like.
Mm-hmm. Anybody promoting the opposite is highly questionable as a true Christian, because it's not God's purpose to have haterade all the time.
Right. I'm all about, there's nothing more powerful than expressing love, and telling somebody that you love them, and telling them authentically that you love them.
Yeah. I gotta celebrate something, especially when you mentioned financial reserve. And I definitely agree with that. It's a constant thing I'm trying to keep an eye on and try to improve. But there's a specific example. My church actually announced this past Sunday that over the last 34 years, they have given $100 million to the Lord's work.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they started just in a 6-person attendance daycare center as their first service here in Atlanta. But that path, that journey, well, aside from faith, it took like very close an eye on the reserve so that they could progressively, like this, they actually explained this, been on an upward trajectory, which is rare for a church or any business since the beginning. But that was a like faithful protecting of the reserve. Also very intentional, like as we're growing, like we're going into this building. Oh, okay, we're ready for this land to build a building as we continue growing. But it's all very, like, it's not like, oh, I just got this big payout. Let's just go clean it out as fast as we can. It's there's education involved, there's care. It's like my wife says, like a business is like a baby. You gotta nurture it, you gotta protect it and feed it well. So yeah, if you're struggling in a financial pit, try to educate better on that.
Yeah.
Even YouTube Academy.
Yeah, financial literacy. That was one of the other things that was extremely important to me. I've spent a lot of time improving my tool set around that, learning everything I can about all the different avenues of investment. And that's why eventually I ended up in the multifamily realm. It was the best approach that produces the most millionaires, and allows you to create a life of freedom. So that's ultimately why we went that direction.
Indeed. Yeah, I look at like stock investments like gambling, like I'm sure you probably do too.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way you're gonna read 200 pages a day to stay up to date on everything.
Yeah, it's funny. When I would talk to my kids about the different kinds of investments. So I talked to them about stock, and before a couple of years ago, this was a great analogy. Getting into stock investing was like getting in a car with no steering wheel, because you have zero control of what's going to happen with that investment, and you can hope and pray to God that everything goes right.
Mhm.
But ultimately, all it takes is one bad actor in that company, and that whole investment comes crashing down.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, that was pretty much all the main points, brother. Any last tidbits you want to share with the people?
I didn't talk about it. There's one other thing. I'm going to be starting something with my men's group. We're going to probably call it Table 8 Movement. That's our table number.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any guys out there that are looking for direction, or just maybe lost, not sure what to do with their family. There's so many things that we go through as men and as fathers, and a lot of times we lack that good rudder to help you go in the right direction. As we get that fired up, I definitely would invite people to follow that and be a part of it once we get it launched. Unfortunately, I don't have anything I can show for that today. And for those of you that are out there that really want to get into multifamily, like I said, underwriting is the pathway, it is the door in, and we have a very compelling tool set to help you do that. So definitely check us out, and I would love to have an opportunity to have you in my trainings and be a part of your future success and your legacy. So I just want to extend that invitation.
Awesome. And is the best website to reach you is through that multideals.com, or is there another?
We're rebranding. It will be MultyDeals.ai,
Okay.
because we're taking a very heavy AI approach this year.
Okay. And that's multi with a Y.
Correct.
Yep.
MultyDeals.ai.
Yes.
We'll have the .com as well for those .comers out there. But, we're rebranding and we're moving to the AI realm.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Craig. Not related to Will Arnett.
Ivan, I appreciate you having me on this. Pleasure speaking with you, and look forward to continuing to connect with you. I feel a very strong connection. We have very much like-minded individuals. Let's stay in contact.
For sure. Thank you, brother. And thanks for watching another episode of From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for joining us on another episode of From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. I hope you got a lot of return on investment for your time today, and I encourage you to share it with other people so that they could also get returns with this valuable education to invest in real estate. We're also sharing this free education because we want to help people learn how to invest so that they could also create more affordable housing units. We have a great goal of creating 2.5 million affordable housing units by 2047, and free education like this is a big part of that. So by you sharing, you are a part of the equation to create those affordable housing units. So I can't wait to see the end of the road that we're going to achieve together. Have an amazing and blessed day.